Well, Pakistan claims to have credible intelligence that it will be attacked by India within days. Tensions have been growing between the two nuclear-powered rivals since a terror attack earlier this month within Indian-controlled Kashmir that left 26 people dead. Afterwards, a group called the Resistance Front claimed responsibility, but it was clear New Delhi felt Pakistan should shoulder some of the blame. Well, India announced a raft of measures, including the expulsion of almost all Pakistani nationals. These were pictures taken from the Attari border in India today. The deadline to get out actually passed on Sunday, but many people are still trying to leave. Fears of bigger escalation only grew when I spoke to Pakistan's Defence Minister on Thursday. It was an astonishing interview. In it, he made this threat if India were to launch an attack.
It would be a measured response. If there is an all-out, attack or something like that, then obviously there will be an all-out war.
That was Khwaja Asif speaking to me earlier in the week. A threat of all-out war. That alone made headlines, but Khwaja Asif sparked outcry within India because of another one of his comments. That came when I asked him whether Pakistan had funded terror groups in the past, just as India had accused them of. Have a listen.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
So further statements there from the Pakistan Defence Minister. A public admission about doing dirty work on behalf of other nations enraged India. Yesterday, one of the country's UN officials called Pakistan a rogue state because of it. Have a listen.
The whole world has heard Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif admitting and confessing Pakistan's history of supporting, training and funding terrorist organizations in a recent television interview. This open confession surprises no one and exposes Pakistan as a rogue state.
That claim about doing dirty work for Western countries came up in yesterday's press briefing at the US State Department. Have a listen.
A Pakistani minister made a statement about performing dirty work for the United States while also denying the existence of Lashkar-e-Toiba in Pakistan. What is the State Department's response to that?
The only thing I'm really prepared to discuss here is the fact that the Secretary of State is going to be speaking with the foreign ministers of both countries.
That was the State Department spokesperson there, essentially saying no comment. Well, this week, I've also been speaking to India's former ambassador to Afghanistan, Amar Sinha. We started with those reports of an impending attack on Pakistan and the question of how strongly Prime Minister Narendra Modi might retaliate.
It's not really a green light, but he has given them a free hand, basically to prepare the modality, the timing, the targets, all that he has done today. So I don't think it is as imminent as it appears in the media or in the social media, or even as Pakistani minister has been sort of claiming for the last 2 days. The fact that there will be a retaliation, I think it is very clear. That framework has been set both in 2016 and 2019, and Pakistan was well aware of it. Still, they did what they did.
Ambassador, you've been talking for years about Pakistan's intelligence and spy agencies supporting, funding, harbouring terror organisations. I put this to the Defence Minister, and it was quite, extraordinary, the admission that he made. It's something that people have talked about and accusations have been made against Pakistan. It's been like an open secret for decades, but it is also quite extraordinary now to see the defence establishment, the civilian government in Pakistan admitting that they actually do have these proxy groups that they support.
Yeah. You see, of course, this would need a much longer discussion, but in short, if I had to tell you that Pakistan does have a very strange relationship with terrorism. While on one hand, for 20 years, they were supposed to be a partner in anti-terror operation with the Americans, while at the same time they were harboring Taliban and other forces. Today, they are battling terror within their territory. Still, they do not hesitate in exporting it even today. So that seems to have become the USP of Pakistan. I think that Pakistan, unfortunately, the establishment, and I completely blame the military, that they have not learned lessons and they just keep repeating. And obviously, it will be a tough call for India because we understand the dilemma. Because while we know who the culprit is, we don't want to take actions which hurts Pakistani civilians. So I'm sure government will take a very considered view and take action which is very pinpointed and we target the people who are responsible.
I know you say that, the region and India shouldn't be afraid of this nuclear threat coming from Pakistan. But are you worried that an all-out war could break out between India and Pakistan and have wider implications?
Well, if you know a very famous statement by PM Modi, he himself has been telling, because we have two major conflicts going around in the world right now. His statement throughout has been that this is not an era of war. You can't solve problems through battles. Now, so obviously, given the position that he has taken, I don't feel that he will be the first to instigate it. But when push comes to shove, or when India feels that it's really got its back to the wall, I think there'll be retaliation. Now, I don't see it will be an all-out war. And if Pakistan says that people really need to look at its current state of the economy and the status of the society, I don't think it is in a position to have a war for a long time and successfully. So for them, this sort of use of terror perhaps is a much more affordable policy at this current state.
That was Ambassador Amar Sinha speaking to me earlier. Well, after that interview, I spoke to Bilawal Bhutto, former Foreign Minister of Pakistan and chairman of the Pakistan People's Party. He caused controversy this week because of a statement he made in response to India suspending a crucial water-sharing treaty with Islamabad. Bhutto suggested either our water will flow or their blood. In a moment, you'll hear how he defended those remarks. But first, did he agree with Pakistan's defence minister that his country has been a backer of terrorism?
As far as what the defense minister said, I don't think that it's a secret that Pakistan has a past as far as extremist groups are concerned. And as a result of this, we have suffered. Pakistan has suffered. We've gone through wave after wave of extremism. We went through the Islamization and militarization of our society. But as a result of what we suffered, we also learned our lessons. We've gone through internal reforms in order to address this problem, not only for us, but also as a concern of the international community. As far as India's accusations are concerned, it would be helpful if India was to provide specific, concrete evidence with Pakistan and with the international community. You
were a victim of terrorism. Your mother was killed by a terrorist. She was assassinated, Benazir Bhutto. And there have been, over the years, tens of thousands of Pakistanis killed as a result of terrorist activity in the country. But when you say Pakistan has a past, it was the policy, maybe not of the civilian government, but certainly of the spy agency, the ISI, the military establishment, to fund and back these organizations. So can you then see why India continues to point the finger of blame on Pakistan? Because this has been a policy. I mean, we saw in 2021, the chief of the ISI was in Kabul. He was there just a few hours after the Taliban takeover, and it's been known for decades that Pakistan has had these policies.
So as far as Pakistan's history is concerned, it is history. It is not something that we partake in today. It is true that it is an unfortunate part of our history. We're not alone in this history. When, for example, in the first Afghan war, the Pakistani state and the Pakistani dictatorship at the time funded and supported and, in every way possible the Mujahideen to take on the communists in Afghanistan. We did that in coordination and collaboration with Western powers. Post that incident, we went through the second conflict in Afghanistan, where obviously there was all of NATO's countries within Afghanistan, and Pakistan was a non-NATO ally. and we work together with the United States and the international community to combat these terrorist groups. But it wasn't really until Pakistan went through the aggressive phase of terrorism that we did go through. We saw terrorist attack every other day that Pakistan internally, within our body politic, we got these sort of contradictions and these confusions related to this topic, particularly after the assassination of my mother, Shaheed Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto. You've seen Pakistan take serious action, successful action against these groups. I believe today this is not the case. The Pakistani government, the Pakistani agencies are not in league with, they're in fact combating such terrorist elements.
I just want to get to your comments about the water treaty, because you said either the water flows or their blood flows. A number of Indian ministers have come out and said, we will no longer tolerate this. Now they'll have to just wait a few days. Another minister said that this was, he had dishonored the sacrifice of his family. He's vowing decisive revenge for this attack. I mean, a number of Indian ministers have come back and taken issues with the comments that you've made.
I'm sure the Indian ministers have taken issues with the comments I made. Me and the people of Pakistan have certainly taken issue with the fact that India has unilaterally and illegally announced to exit from the Indus Water Treaty. Unfortunately, we're seeing now that there are new outrageous precedents, even in times of war. India and Pakistan have fought wars in the past, but we still didn't take such a step. It is something outrageous. It's an action that India has taken. I certainly not, my intent for my statement was certainly not advocating for bloodshed, but as the government of Pakistan had stated in their reaction to this decision, that it would be considered an act of war. And as you're well aware, when war happens, blood does flow. We do not want war. We seek peace. We've been seeking to engage with India for some time.
Do you believe that there is an imminent attack that India is going to launch on Pakistan?
Unfortunately, even though international law does not justify in any terms any such attack, you are well aware that under the United Nations Charter, countries are only allowed to use force in cases of self-defense, not in cases of reprisal or to teach someone a lesson or in any of that case. We have seen in the past where they have launched attacks as a result. At the moment, the country is also bracing for any such action where Pakistan is at the ready to respond. But having said that, it is certainly not the path that will solve the issue of Kashmir. It is not the path that will solve the issue of terrorism, and it's not the path that will bring peace and stability to South Asia.
What would a Pakistani response look like? Because we saw something quite similar in 2019, where a series of airstrikes were launched on Pakistani soil by the Indians. An Indian Air Force pilot, his plane was shot out of the sky. He was captured. He was returned alive. But what kind of response is Pakistan likely to take if India does launch a series of airstrikes?
I don't want to go into theoreticals other than to say from our Air Force to our armed forces to our Navy, Pakistan is well capable of responding to any and all forms of Indian aggression.
And when you say that, I mean, do we know what that might look like?
Unfortunately, we've seen it in the past. Our two countries have gone to war before. It is our hope that this does not happen, that better sense prevails, that the international community is engaging with both sides, but forcefully engages with both sides to ensure that there's no escalation, that there's a fair and impartial and neutral investigation into the incident, and then create a conducive atmosphere where India and Pakistan could work together. Short of that, this could be turn into anything from a limited skirmish and a tit-for-tat between our air forces or any other wings of our armed forces, or it could turn into a full-scale war, and ultimately, where both nuclear powers armed countries, and heaven forbid a nuclear conflict. That's always a concern whenever tensions increase between India and Pakistan.